Well, last night's budget is now out there to be digested and dissected, criticised and praised, of course, and it will play a part in deciding the next election. Let's go live to Tom Connell, who's at 5 Dock in Sydney's Inner West, talking to voters in the marginal seat of Reid now. Tom, the budget included a number of measures to address the cost of living. It's putting cash into people's pockets. Do you think, well, do voters think, I should ask, do they think it will have a material impact on their hip pocket and therefore how they vote?
The general consensus is it will help, but how much will it really counter the cost of living? That's from speaking to quite a few voters here in the seat of Reid. It's a really interesting seat as well, Laura, just to mention, because the margin's 3.2%, but both major parties internally think it's quite likely to shift. So if there's not a mood here for Labor, where is there a mood? For the coalition, does this mean seats are on the move? If it does go out of their hands, it's held by Fiona Martin locally. So, yes, we were talking about cost of living first and foremost. These three major measures in the budget costing $8 billion. Are they having much of an effect on voters? Here's what they had to say.
I think some of the fuel excise stuff coming down, that's pretty good. That'll have an immediate hit.
$420 for middle income or lower, that isn't going to last long. So, but I guess it's better than nothing.
Does it help the average family here in 5 Dock? I'd seriously doubt it.
I think it should be more long term. A one-off payment is probably not enough. Why don't they just increase the pension permanently to cover the cost of living?
So mainly underwhelmed, you'd have to say, in terms of how much this will address the cost of living. There is petrol as the main one, but others spoke about the rising costs of groceries and seeing them go up sometimes each week on some items in local supermarkets. Other issues, there are so many of them, but just one we plucked out was the issue of defence. Interesting to note that this cyber announcement, it might not be the sort of thing that households sit down and talk about, but a couple of voters did have it on their radar.
Oh, the takeout of last night, I looked at the cyber spending on cyber security as opposed to defence. I think that's a good thing.
There's a lot of discussion, especially at the local business level, around those security issues, and I think the more we can sort of invest and focus on it, will actually benefit, I think, the confidence of the community.
Tom, of course, the most important question is, just a couple of weeks out from the election, did it convince any voters to back the coalition, back them in, change votes? What are you picking up there?
There was no emphatic yes from anybody here. They were all essentially welcoming of extra money. Why wouldn't you be, of getting some money in the pocket? But no one was saying this was a game changer. And I suppose that's partly the reality for the government. You're spending $8 billion, it's a decent amount of money, but it's not a seismic change in anyone's life. So on that prospect, the overall verdict seems to be a wait and see one. Have a look.
We'll see what happens in the lead up to election day. I'm probably about a 50-50 voter.
Oh, I think this government's had its chance, unfortunately, and hasn't delivered. You have to look at the bookies to tell you that, but unfortunately, I'm generally a 50-50 voter, but not this time.
I will probably make up my decision depending on what, as I said, the opposition come up with.
You say you've made up your mind, no budget would change that?
Not really. No, I'm not going to say who, but I just don't think the other one is strong enough to lead. So I probably just gave myself away then, didn't I?
So it's not a game changer. It makes it interesting for Labor, Laura, because the overall sentiment, and doing a focus group last night as well on the seat of Macquarie, was that this money is not a total game changer, but cost of living help is needed. But at the same time, this amount is not enough. So what does Labor do? Does it risk putting more money into the equation and looking like they're possibly spending too much? Or trying to say, well, give us a go as a new government rather than focus too much on trying to outdo the coalition, if you like. So it's an interesting equation for Labor. Most voters say they need some more money for cost of living, that this isn't enough, but that the amount they're giving does seem like a bit of an election bribe, others are saying. So it's a difficult path for both parties in terms of handouts, I think.
Yeah, it depends if they like to be bribed, I guess. Tom, we will see. Thanks so much. We'll check in soon.